Good evening, and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. Tonight, since it's church day for everybody, we're going to talk about spirituality versus religion and how that spirituality and what we follow shapes our beliefs in the things that we do, say, how we act around people, how it guides us in our family life. All of these, to me, religions, all these foreign ideologies that we follow, to me, aren't what our great great grandparents had to deal with. They're spirituality concepts that they created themselves. And if you ask me, I think those are the things we should be following today. Joining us tonight is Zina Rhone, and she's going to give us her interpretation. She'll let you know how long she's been studying it, what she's been doing it, and how she got to the conclusion that she's at. So without further ado, I'm going to sit down and be quiet and let Zina take the mic. Zina, good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing? Religion versus spirituality.
Yes.
Explain.
Well, let me explain a little bit about myself first. I am the oldest child. I was born to a single mother in Accawmacks County, Virginia, a little town called Milford. And I was born at home by midwife. And my mother married a military man when I was about 3 years old. And we left the Eastern Shore and we moved to Washington, D.C. And from there, we lived there a little while, and then he got an assignment to Europe. And I lived in Europe, and while I was there, when we did attend any kind of service, it was always at the chapel on post. And a lot of my friends were different religions. I had friends that were Buddhist and friends that were Hindu and friends that were Muslim and all different sects and doctrines of the Christian denominations. So I wasn't hemmed into a religion to the point where I could not accept other people until I came back stateside and I saw how a lot of people were Christians and how the Christian religion seemed so strict to me. And it seemed like it was so foreboding for you to do anything that was looked at as spiritual, or they saw as mysticism, or any other religion just seemed to them to be, passe. It was like, no, you can't do that. There were so many restrictions, and I was like, I don't see how a loving Father, Heavenly Father, would have so many restrictions when there's so much more than what we're taught in a book in a religion. So that was my journey from there. Also, I work for the National Archives here in Atlanta, and I started doing my own genealogy years ago. In fact, I used to ask my grandmother all kinds of things, and she would say we weren't Negroes. She said, we're not Negro. That's what they call us. She said, but we're not Negroes. I said, what are we? She said, we're Indians. And I was like, yeah, but they say we're Blacks. She said, well, they say a lot of things. She said, as you get older, you will learn that they say a lot of things that are not necessarily true, but have been taught to us as truth. So, from there, I just started my journey, and I started learning more about my people. And I was taken back to the Algonquin nations and the Powhatan tribes, the Accawmacks, the Gingaskin Indians. And I started learning, what did these people believe? What language did they speak? My great-grandmother was, I used to ask my mom, what kind of people are these? Because she looked different than most people that I had seen that were considered themselves Negro. And she had a different way of speaking.
So
So
that's one of the things we don't really hear about the language. People talk about their grandparents and they had ways of doing things like on the land and stuff, but we never really talk about the language that those people spoke. Can you delve into that a little bit?
my great grandmother, we called her Bunny. And Bunny was, she was she was a different type of person. She was one of those people that would go stand out in the rain and, and she'd look up at the sky and she would be so happy for the rain to come. And she would be out there thanking God in the rain. And I'd be like, okay, this is different, because most of us, we run from the rain, we don't want our hair to get kinky or whatever, but she was never that way. And when you came to her, she would say something. She would say "asasamea," and and that was just her thing. She would be like, "I'm so glad to see y'all, asasamea, asasamea," and she'd hug herself, and she'd hug you, and she would just be so jubilant that you were there. And as I started studying different religions and different languages, as far as what indigenous people did, asasamea is actually a Paleo Hebrew phrase, and it means I am very happy, or I'm so glad, or I'm so grateful. And so, but I remember that from being just a very little girl, and that's one of the things that stuck out in my mind.
So when you got older and you start working in the archives, did you start looking up, your family when you got into the archives?
I started looking at my family when I got into the archives. I asked my grandmother when I was about maybe 15 about her people, and she ignored me at first. And then, when she finally answered me, she said, "You know what?" She said, "All them shitty ass people are dead, and the only people you need to worry about are the people here." So I left it alone. So I think in 2000, when I got the job at the National Archives, she called me and she said, "Oh, your mom told me what you're doing." And she said, "You can look up people." Yeah. And I said, "Yeah." And she gave me a lot of names and a lot of different things. And she said, "Try to find out what kind of Indians we are and try to find out, as much as you can about us." Because she said a lot of times when I was growing up, people did not tell us about who we were, where we came from, what we believed in, or anything. So that was one of the things that I tried to do, is to satisfy it for her. We lost her in 2005, and a lot of the information that she wanted, I was not able to get, but that didn't deter me from continuing to learn about who I was and, who our people are, why we've been lied to, why we believe as we do, why are we so docile and easily led. A lot of those things just bothered me, and I just wanted to know why. How it was like a long process of brainwashing to me, and from there, I just got to the point where I determined that religion was.
It looks like we've lost Xena. I don't know what it is, but hopefully she'll be back real soon. But on the concept of religion versus spirituality, one of the things that she said, and that I wanted to hit on when she comes back, is why it seems that we are not like other species on this planet. And what I mean by that is why we don't learn. How come we don't learn? If something goes wrong, we just keep doing the wrong thing over and over again. And we don't change. We don't try to make it better. And it's like it's on purpose. So when she say docile, that's where I'm at. It's like, how come we're not learning? How come we're not moving on? How come we don't see where we are as a group of people? And I understand that she's going to get in this tonight is we don't see ourselves as we see ourselves as nothing. If you can see this screen that I'm talking on, that's a black screen. 1 second. Here she's trying to get back in. That was Xena, and she just told me, unfortunately, the power went out at the house. So, real sorry about that. So we're just going to do this again. We're just going to bring it back. As soon as she get back up, we're going to get into it. Okay, sorry about that. But later on tonight, we have another brother from LA coming on, and he's going to let you know what's going on in Los Angeles, the real what's going on in Los Angeles, because depending on where you live in the country, you always get this regional news or you get local news. You never really get what's going on across the country. And that's one of the reasons that we suggest that we have our own platforms. We have our own platforms. We should have been done that. And it's just hard to get us together to do that. So we're gonna be royalty say they have put a spell on us in words. Check this out. And this is very important. They have put a spell on us with words. They have put a spell on us with words. Black means be lack. And that, I don't know how much more simple can you get by even just looking at the word. This is what these words means. And this is when we learn how to spell, we learn to cast spells. These are the things that are happening to us right now. That's why a lot of people are so easily misunderstood. Like the brother was telling us about last night, about the cat who just got shot in the back. Doesn't he have any responsibility for that? We say, well, that don't matter. Later for what he did, he got shot in the back. But don't he have some responsibility for that? Doesn't he have some accountability for that? Isn't he accountable to his sons, the one they show in the pictures with him all laughing and hugged up? But we skip over that. We just get into our emotional, like this person is saying, that spell. They know how to push our buttons with that emotions. And you see it with us moving our necks and clapping our hands and just getting mad. These are spells that we're under. And we just don't seem to get it. And there's no excuse for it. And that my baby, leave him alone. We all into that. And so being that way allows these spells to keep working against us. And we don't get it. It's 2020 and we don't get it. So we're going to bring on a brother tonight, and he's going to let you know about what's going on in LA. It's going to blow you away, because these are the things we don't pay attention to. We don't hook up with our people on the West Coast, in the mountains, down in Louisiana. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying the majority of us, we don't even speak to family. So we're going to bring in a brother from LA that's going to let you know what's happening to your brothers and sisters. A lot of your cousins who moved to the West Coast, when we were moving to the West Coast in the 60s and the 50s for the military jobs and to get out of South, he's going to let you know what's going on with the children and grandchildren of those people. Very interesting. So we're going to do that in about a couple of hours, and we might do it quicker now that Xena power went off. And Pav says, and this is for show, Pav says our brains are in handcuffs, brain cuffs. So we're going to come back in an hour or two. I'm going to put a little post up before we get started. Check it out. But we're going to keep it going. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Thank you guys for coming in. And sorry about the power outage at Xena's. We're going to get back into the religion versus spirituality. All right, see you guys in a minute.